Hello, my spooky scaries, and welcome back to the final pod. My name's Ezra Rivers, and I am your host, and here I talk all things spooky all the time. To quote my favorite television character, like ever, Miss Allison De Laurentiis from Pretty Little Liars, I beg the question, did you miss me? I know it's been a few weeks, and I want to take a moment to be transparent and honest with you all. Like most of us, I suffer with depression and anxiety, and after a few big moments over the course of the last few weeks, I kind of fell into this hole of just not really feeling creative. I barely paid attention to my phone, I wouldn't post on the Final Pod Instagram page, and I just kind of disappeared for a little bit. But I'm back, and I'm excited to be making more episodes for you guys. With that said, this isn't a sponsor, this isn't me trying to force anything on anyone, but I just wanted to say mental health is very real, and I hope and pray that each and every one of you is taking the time necessary to take care of yourselves. There's a lot of things that we deal with on a day to day basis that we don't generally speak about, and we kind of keep it all in and we let it fester. But honestly, take the time, breathe, work things out, know that everything's going to be okay, and just really be there for you because no one else is really going to do that for you. With that being said, this week's episode, we're talking about one of the movies that has truly become a horror staple. That movie is The Strangers. With the Reboot trilogy on the way, with Chapter 1 releasing May 17th and the other two sequels scheduled for later this year, today we were blessed with the official trailer, and I cannot tell you how excited I am for this. But we'll get into all that a little later. The first official clip, which was released about 4 months ago, showed our new final girl, Madeleine Petsch, answering the fateful question, is Tamara home? Which, if you know the original, is the question that really kind of started it all. I just have to ask, first of all, who the hell is Tamara and why is she never home? And where has she been since 2008? And also, why does she have so many homes that everyone's looking for her in? Because baby girl got people out here looking for her and they taken whoever else's life because of her. It's giving she owes them money and went into the witness protection or something at this point. Whatever it is, Tamara, show yourself. These people are looking for you and everyone else is getting killed and it's really not cool. To give a little rewind, The Strangers premiered on May 30th, 2008 and was met with both praise and negative criticism, but has since then become the cult classic that it is today. It stars Liv Tyler as Kristen McKay and Scott Speedman as James Hoyt, and takes place between one dreadful night at James's childhood summer home after a wedding. The movie shows that James has proposed to Kristen at the reception, or after it, I kind of really forget, but she ultimately says no. This already puts our two main characters on edge and sort of at odds with each other before even arriving at the home. Throughout the beginning of the night, there's tension between them. They're a little off with each other. James actually calls his friend Mike to pick him up the following morning, but as we all know, that never happens. Around 4 a.m., after they're trying to get it on or whatever, there's a knock at the door, and the question is asked, is Tamara home? To which Kristen replies no, and the woman leaves. Well, she says no, and then she asks her if she's sure, and then she just kind of disappears. I'm not going to get into everything because I try to stay away from spoilers just in case anyone hasn't seen the film and, listening to the podcast makes them want to go listen to it. So I will just say from there on, it's one nightmarish ride for both James and Kristen, which ultimately leads to a group of people in masks attacking and attempting to kill them. Without spoiling the whole movie, the masked intruders make their way into the home and terrorize the couple before attempting to take their lives. The movie does end on a cliffhanger, and the ultimate fate of Kristen is never revealed, which there's a part of me that loves that, there's a part of me that hates that, only because there's a sequel, and if I'm correct, the sequel never touches on what happened in the first one. And I think when you fall in love with a set of characters, especially in I think the runtime is like an hour and a half or something, but you really start to feel for these two people, it's just kind of underwhelming. But yeah, as I said, the movie was turned into a sequel titled The Strangers Prey at Night, which shows the same group of mass assailants terrorizing a new family. And honestly, for me, the sequel is a little bigger, giving numerous locations instead of keeping everything inside of one single home, But the feel, the atmosphere, and the sheer terror of simply becoming a target because you were in the house makes The Strangers the scarier of the two films. We've gotten the basics out of the way. Now let's talk about the reboot. The Strangers Chapter 1, set to release on May 17th, 2024, stars Madelaine Petsch as Maya and Froy Gutierrez as Ryan. The synopsis of the film states, Maya and Ryan are driving cross-country to start a new life, but unfortunately their car breaks down and they are forced to spend the night in an Airbnb. First of all, Airbnbs are scary enough. You don't really know who the home belongs to, let alone who stayed there before. It's not necessarily a cleanliness thing, because I truly believe that, the people who own the house, well, I would hope, can, they come in, they clean the house, they kind of reset everything. But it's just that unknown territory that's not your home, if you get my gist. Anyway, during their night in the home, they are attacked and terrorized by three masked strangers. It is a reboot or remake of the original first film that will see Maya and Ryan fighting off the strangers in an attempt to survive the night. Now, my hopes for this remake is that, while they bring something new, obviously, because I don't just want to see the first movie over again, that they stay true to the original and keep that atmosphere and the sheer terror that you feel while watching the first movie in the exact place where it needs to be, which is throughout the whole movie. The original film really didn't rely on a lot of jump scares or anything of that sort. There's a few here and there, but I think it's just the quiet and the stealth of the strangers that really makes it scary. And it really makes you think, like, if someone broke into my home, like, will I hear them? Will I be able to know that someone's there? And I think that really plays heavy into the first film. So I do hope that they keep that within the reboot. We don't need, like Maya getting on like TikTok live and being like, help, I'm at this location. So I really hope that they stay true to what makes the original film so terrifying and what gave people that like sense of unease. Because in the original, there's the famous quote that's like, why are you doing this to us? And they say simply, because you were home. Come on, who just wants to be attacked because they're in a home, whether it's yours or not? Like, it's fucked up, to be honest. If you know Madelaine Petsch, then you know her work from Riverdale as Cherry Blossom, which I'm very excited to see her in this new role as something, what seems to be, from like the clip and the trailer that was released today, polar opposite to what we've seen on Riverdale. On that show, she plays a character who is sort of badass and in your face and not really afraid to say how she feels, almost like the mean girl of high school, and that tough persona that like no one's ever going to take me down. So it's kind of interesting to see. It will be interesting to see the contrast as Maya and to see what she can bring by sort of pulling back that hard ass mentality and playing more of a victim to hero than just an all-out hero throughout the whole thing. I admittedly do not know much of Froy's work other than Hocus Pocus 2, but I will say the original character of James in the first one, even though he's not playing James, really, for me at least, didn't, and I hope no one, comes at me for this, but wasn't really a polarizing role, in the sense of I don't really expect much from the male lead if we're rebooting or remaking the original film, because James really, James kind of let me down. James very much let me down in the original film, so I saw it more as a story based in Kristen's survival rather than James or even both of them together. So it kind of leaves room for surprise, right? Like, I'm not really expecting too much from the male lead, so I'm hoping to be surprised and see that they give him more of a reason to exist in this situation, I guess. And I feel like that sounds a little messed up, but it's just the truth. But with the series being a trilogy and all three films already being shot, I am curious to see where they go with it. The filmmaker and cast have been noted stating that these three new films take place in the same universe as the first original films, which leads me to think, is it the same three killers from the original as well, or some sort of copycat killers, kind of like Scream? And I did see the trailer. We will talk about the trailer, which kind of gives way into how this film is going to take place in the same universe, because the trailer states like, witness how the strangers became the strangers. So I'm kind of guessing it's more of a prequel, and then 2 and 3 will either lead into it or kind of, I don't really know. I'm not really sure how to see it, simply because I was under the impression that it was a reboot. So we were basically taking the first film, remaking it, and then continuing the story from there. But now it kind of seems like it's a prequel, so it could take place before what we see in the original two films. Um, so yeah, I mean, if you've seen the original and then you've seen the second one, then you kind of know the fate of the killers. But if the new film exists in the same universe, it begs the question, are we going to get some explanation to what happened at the end of The Strangers Prey at Night? Or will it be a true prequel completely and be taking place before the original Strangers even happened? So the attack with Kristen and James hasn't even taken place yet. I don't know. I'm really interested to see it. I'm really interested to see the direction it goes in, and really see, these movies become more of a franchise rather than two standalone films. Because as I said, if these three movies are intended to be a prequel to everything that we've already seen, then The Strangers really has 5 movies under its belt, which is a franchise at that point. And if you know me, I love a good franchise as long as it's not the same thing over and over again. And I'm not really sure which one I like more. If we are getting into their past and how they've sort of become these, horror killers that we've known over the years, or if it's something more of taking place within 3 different timelines. Like, I don't really know, because, being in the same universe can be so broad. I mean, you've got things like the MCU, but that takes place over different timelines and universes. And granted, this isn't a Marvel film, but I think it's too vague to know as of right now. Either way, I'm really looking forward to see what it brings, and I love Madeleine Petsch. I think she's beautiful. I've seen the trailer, which we're going to get into in a second. She's got a great scream for horror, and I think she's going to be a new age final girl, and I'm excited for that. I think we need more final girls that are not just ripoffs of old final girls or reboots or remakes. It's refreshing to see a new young actress take on the role of a final girl in a horror film, because they become such iconic characters throughout, the transcendence of horror and what it means. And every time we get a new one, we kind of get a new glimpse into what a final girl actually is. For example, we have Sam Carpenter from Scream 5 and 6. She's definitely not the traditional final girl. She borders the line of like good and bad, but almost using the bad to enhance her good. But she's still a good person, and she's still a final girl, and she still has those qualities that we all love and cater to when we praise and want, one of those final girls in a movie. Okay, so I've talked a little bit about the trailer, and kind of, let's just get into it, right? So the trailer dropped today. It gives us I want to say it may give us too much of the movie, but I've come to just take it with a grain of salt, because one, I noticed that a lot of trailers, especially when it comes to horror films, when the final product comes out, there's a lot of scenes that are put into the trailer just to kind of build hype and don't actually make it into the final film. So I don't really hold a horror trailer so close to heart. We saw that with Black Christmas, when there was, I want to say, like 5 scenes that actually don't make the movie. And it's interesting when that happens, right? Because then you're kind of like, well, where are the scenes? And then it always comes out that the director was like, oh, we just threw it in there for fun. We just kind of wanted to, fill it in and make it a little more exciting, and then have these films just cut them out, which is, neither here nor there. I really don't care as long as the final product makes sense and is fun and it makes for a good time. So anyway, the trailer we see, it opens up. You've got Maya and Ryan. They are driving, kind of talking about what they're gonna do, how it's their anniversary, and then they pull up into a gas station or a diner. From there, we kind of see that like the town maybe isn't what we think it is. It's not really. Everyone doesn't look like they take so kindly to strangers, for lack of better terms. Yeah, they arrive at a diner. Everyone's kind of looking at them weird. Like they can tell that they're not from here. We actually see the two little boys from the original film. I mean, not the same boys, but it kind of leads into all that with the two kids finding Kristen and James at the end. We then cut back into them at the home where they're, trying to get it on or whatever. And there's a knock at the door, right? Ryan answers it. We get the infamous question, is Tamara home? They say no, and they leave. From there on, I just want to say it's creepy, to say the least, right? We have Maya taking a shower. The masked killer is right on the outside watching her. And then there's a really creepy scene of them eating like burgers and fries, and her thinking that like his ketchup is spilling everywhere, when in fact it's like a dead bird hanging from the top of the little light fixture or the fan, the ceiling fan. And at that point they know something's up, right? So Ryan tells her, run, lock the door. And as soon as she locks the door, the axe comes flying at the door, and we're revealed to see one of the main killers. I'll let you go watch the trailer. Obviously, I think everyone should watch it because it's fun. It looks really exciting. It looks really tense. It looks scary, honestly. But I don't want to say everything for scene by scene. But from then on, it's just a flare of scenes throughout the movie with them running and screaming and trying to survive. What I will say that looks different about this, it looks like it's leaning more towards a little bit of the action aspect of it. So whereas Kristen and James were kind of just trapped in the home and don't really, I don't want to say don't fight back because they have their moments, but this one looks like we're getting a little more of the fight back from Maya and Ryan versus Kristen and James. And I think that's more so just because of the times and where we are now, and wanting horror to be have a little bit more of the action in it to show like the real fight for survival versus just running and screaming and having nudity and tits flying around and the girl's shirt ripping off while she's running through the forest. I think we're getting a little bit more into the action horror versus just pure horror, which I'm a little worried about because, like I said, I think the original holds up so well because of how scary it is and the thought process of just being in a home and not knowing what's going on and just kind of being terrorized. I think it holds a little heavier when you have that darkness just sort of lingering and not really, I don't want to say not fighting back, but just I hope it's not really an action horror movie, and I just hope that we stay true to what makes the original so special, which is the creep factor, I guess you could say. With that, though, the new trailer does prove that the movie has a lot of potential. Referring back to the first clip that was released 4 months ago, We have Maya in the home with one of the strangers walking behind her while she answers the door. It makes me feel like the atmosphere is going to be like the original and give us the same creepy feeling of really never wanting to be home alone or even renting an Airbnb for that matter. There is a lot of hype for this new film and the subsequent two after. I've been sort of, scrolling the Twitter feeds, and with the trailer dropping today, it does seem like people are excited for it or at least interested in it. I saw a few people saying that it's just a reboot, it's just a remake, but I think the trailer really solidifies that it's more of a prequel, and I think with that we're gonna get the same aspects of the original film, but more of a backstory and an origin versus just a complete remake, which I like. I just hope we don't kind of humanize the villains, because I hate when horror movies, especially when reboots kind of take what we have that was so special, which is just people losing their mind, going batshit crazy, committing crimes and killing people and stalking people or whatever, and then we try to kind of like humanize them and make the audience feel like sorry for them in a way. I don't ever want to feel sorry for the bad guy. I don't care that they had a rough childhood. I don't care where they come from. I don't care that, X, Y, and Z happened to them, which is why they are today. I like living in the fact and the fear of just someone snapping or a group of people snapping and just going bonkers and batshit crazy and just really doing whatever they do. Uh, Kind of like what Rob Zombie did with Halloween and his remake, which I love the remake when you have the second half of the film and you cut out the first half. Uh, Humanizing Michael a little too much and making him this like bullied kid with this dysfunctional family and this all these hardships and stuff, and kind of really painting him in this like, well, this is why. It's like I don't care, right? Like I'm more fearful of this man coming back to his hometown, losing his shit on someone, and just taking it from there. I don't really care for the whole sob story of it all. Um, with that said, though, I will say that I'm going to be following this film until the premiere on May 17th. I do have high hopes for it. The Strangers and its sequel are two of my favorite films that I think I've ever seen, as far as like creep factor and atmosphere and building this uncertainty of why this is even happening to these people is really exciting, and it's I just hope it's done in a fresh way that doesn't feel rehashed so much. Um, so yeah, I mean, that's all for today's episode. It's so great to be back. I will get back on a schedule, and I will be, talking about more things as they come up. There's a lot of new horror movies coming out that I do want to cover and talk about, as well as there's a whole bunch of, OG films or like original films that I've seen over the course of my life that I want to talk about. And I know I have some other guests coming, which is going to be fun. But be sure to follow at the Final Pod on Instagram for more updates and to be in the know about all upcoming episodes. Please like, comment, follow wherever you get your podcast, and be on the lookout for new episodes. I'm back in the swing of things. I'm feeling creative again. I'm excited. I do want to bring in some more people so that it's not just me talking, and I can also make the episodes longer. But, who wants to hear me talk for a whole hour and a half without anyone else talking back to me, right? So yeah, as I said, I'm excited to be back. I'm happy that I'm feeling creative again. I'm so excited about all the new horror films that are coming out, all the new updates and stuff. So there are episodes planned that will be coming out soon. And yeah, that's really it. So thanks for listening. Excited for what's to come, and just, remember to stay spooky. And at this point, just don't even answer the damn door.